Last year, I took a look at my first mod review on this channel with the Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD for Total War Attila. I appreciated all the feedback I received and definitely wanted to take a look at another mod. Honestly, the mod scene for Total War Attila is very impressive. Even though it isn't the most popular or talked about release, the community around it continues to impress. Instead of moving forward, we are going back to the glory days of Rome with ancient empires. Beginning in the year 202 BC, this mod begins at the tail end of the Second Punic War with Scipio knocking on the gates of Carthage. Taking the Attila gameplay into Antiquity sounds like a pretty neat concept, but does this mod ultimately deliver? Like any Total War game, you start the game and pick your faction. There are just a ton of factions that aren't even playable in Rome 2 that are included here. In order to show you just how diverse this game could get, we will be looking at two factions, the Iceni from the British Isles and the Kush who are located below Egypt. Both are listed as easy factions, so let's see how true that actually holds up. As the Iceni, you start out as one of the stronger factions in the British Isles, already warring with one of the adjacent factions. One thing to note is that almost every settlement will have walls, meaning that you'll need to build equipment if you don't have any ballista units or something similar. Since I am not strong enough to take out the faction I am at war with right away, I will put them under siege and force a pitched battle. What I really like about the Antiquity period was just how varied the factions were in battle. Thankfully, this mod captures this perfectly. While cavalry and chariots are still very effective, I only use them at the right moment as spears and pikes are nothing to mess with. Instead, I will use my skirmishers to circle around the melee and pick off units that way. Once they ran out of ammo, I would charge in to surround the unit and cause a rout with their reduced numbers. For Kush, I lived and died by the bow, since those archers can basically outrange anyone. Before my spears would clash with theirs, I would shower the enemy with either regular or poison arrows, greatly reducing their numbers before the clash. Even their elite infantry used bows, which I found to be a very interesting hybrid unit. Overall, the level of variety is awesome with some great looking units as well. Compared to Attila and other modern Total Wars, the battle pace is much slower, but that's honestly a good thing. Lately, I feel like Total War goes by too fast without giving the players enough time to maneuver their units and land a killing blow. By the time you circle your cavalry around, it's already over and the enemy or your spears begin to break. Here, that's not the case, as this allows for even infantry to use flanking to their advantage. Outside of battles, the civic game is also important. One of the favorite things I like about Attila is trying to figure out how to best balance your provinces to be productive while also managing food, sanitation, and all the important public order. Thankfully, that philosophy is still maintained here. It's even expanded here with how settlements that are not your capital are handled. Compared to your capital, they have their own main settlement building that will give you a certain percentage of the income, but also reduces the maintenance costs for each building. The economy can still swing wildly depending on the season, so I recommend for you to keep a close eye on things. It's also very important to research technology before expanding too deeply. Compared to the base game, most of these technologies actually give you great bonuses such as increasing public order, increasing income, lowering native discontent, and a ton more useful ones. While many of the military ones are great, I would recommend you to focus on the civic benefits as you'll cap out early and be stuck with level 2 buildings if you don't. I've learned in this mod that it's better to build up than to build wide, which was also true with the base Attila experience. Diplomacy is similar with the addition of trading regions with other factions. I never used this too much as most factions only had 1 or 2 territories, and it was always preferable to subjugate them or to just take the territory outright. However, I did notice that factions are more willing to form confederations than ever before. As the Iceni, I mainly just held settlements under siege, maybe fought a pitched battle, then proposed a peace treaty with joining the confederation. This also allowed me to avoid many of the negative public order modifiers with using pure military force. I really enjoyed doing this, and I'm glad this mod takes advantage of the more diplomatic opportunities. One of my favorite additions here is the ability to recruit foreign troops. This used to be restricted to just Rome and the vanilla Rome 2 experience, but now is expanded to basically anyone. This allows the player to recruit a wide variety of troops, which is awesome to see. For example, as the Kushites, I can supplement my Kushite archers with more heavily armored Hellenic spears, as well as some Egyptian cavalry. This is a feature that I definitely wish official Total Wars would adopt. Warhammer 3 has flirted with this idea with the inclusion of allied recruitment, so maybe they can go all out with Total War Pharaoh. Who knows? During the loading screens, the game often states how much of a throwback this is to the original Rome Total War, and that is definitely reflected in the general stats, traits, and the sounds played throughout. Some of the music also returns with some original tracks that I don't recall hearing before. All great stuff here. And before I even knew it, I already achieved the historical victory for the Iceni in relatively short time, under 30 turns. I was quite shocked to see how short some of these historical victory conditions are, but I honestly appreciate it considering how difficult it can be to expand effectively. Thankfully, there are still longer victory conditions to achieve if you want to aim for that. Now, one thing I would like to discuss with Ancient Empires is the future. The last time this mod was updated was on September 21st, 2021. That doesn't seem like long ago until you realize that it's been almost 2 whole years. I haven't followed the Ancient Empires Discord, but it appears that the mod is not abandoned and is still being worked on behind the scenes. Personally, the mod has far more content than necessary and will keep many players busy for a long time. The only thing this mod needs is a bit more polish in certain areas, but that may be more of an Attila issue than with the mod itself. If the guys behind it do plan to update the game in the near future, I hope they can give Public Order another look. Due to all the public order penalties one can get from slaves and everything else, it gets pretty damn frustrating to have to constantly put down rebellions. Since replenishment rate is also tied into the public order, having low public order will prevent you from replenishing troops and recruiting more units to help put down the rebellion. You'll have to rely on mercenaries, which some places only have a small handful of. I understand the philosophy of not wanting to expand so rapidly, but the amount of negative modifiers for just taking one place can be very discouraging to continue a campaign. It's basically why, despite my success with the Kush army, I ended my campaign due to all the public order issues I was having. And if you're looking for something that you feel this mod is sorely lacking, look no further than the endless additional sub-mods in the Steam Workshop. I find it just fascinating how total conversion mods like this end up inspiring others to create their own mods for it. It's like going down the rabbit hole and uncovering more goodies the deeper you go. I also wanted to see if multiplayer works for this mod. I can report that both the campaign and custom battles with others work as well as the base game and can lead to some very fun moments. Unfortunately, the multiplayer campaign for the vanilla experience is chock full of crashes, desyncs, and everything in between, which is also replicated here. Custom battles, however, are far more stable in comparison. Overall, I can definitely recommend Ancient Empires to veterans of Total War Attila. It has a ton of diverse factions to play with, the better paced battles, and is just a ton of fun to play through. If you're not very experienced with Total War Attila, I would recommend for you to first get a campaign or two under your belt before downloading this mod. It can get pretty difficult and downright punishing if you expand too quickly. While there hasn't been any updates in the Steam Workshop for a while, there's still tons of sub-mods to help satiate whatever needs you may have. Here's to hoping that the mod still is being worked on and another big update is on the way. In the meantime, I'm going to continue my Iceni campaign as I prepare for a possible war with Rome. Thank you guys for watching as always, and this is Powerhouse signing off.